This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. 2023 is a pretty interesting year, especially for Alan Wake fans. The game was originally released on the 360 and was and is easily one of the best games for that system. It featured an engaging story, great main character who grew into a hero we rooted for. Atmosphere was near perfect, and the third-person shooting had all the flash and flare that you would expect from a Remedy game. So why was this not a hit when it came out? I think the timing was pretty good in terms of when it released. It was released in late spring, early summer, but the competition from another huge game is why I think Microsoft sort of shot itself in the foot on Alan Wake's release. Alan Wake was released right next to Red Dead Redemption. Now yes, these two games are very different from each other, and both are very awesome, but when many people only have so much expendable income for games, I think what we saw is that many went with Rockstar, especially for its mainstream appeal, rather than this action horror title. Alan Wake even saw a digitally only game release that acted like the next chapter of sorts for our hero with American Nightmare. It improved many areas of the original game, including offering a large amount of new enemies and weapons to use. Both were later released on PC, and Remedy came out to say that they understood that there were passionate fans for the game, but they simply did not sell enough for the time. Remedy wanted to make more and continue the story, but they decided to shelve it. But fans of Alan Wake always knew that Remedy still cared, because Alan would pop up in other titles. Fast forward to now, we are getting a full-on sequel, and a remaster is available on all current generation systems, with Alan Wake now being available on the PlayStation for the first time. And with it coming to PS Plus, I thought it was a good excuse to talk about one of my favorite games. Alan Wake is a third-person action horror shooter. It has this nice blend of third-person action, survival horror elements, and it all blends it into an experience that is both stylish and thrilling for its gameplay. Light is at the center of the combat and is needed in almost every situation. Alan is battling the darkness, and while you are armed with many firearms, you cannot do damage to your enemies until their shield is down. Each enemy has a darkness shield, and you need to burn it away with the light, so that the enemy is now vulnerable to your gunfire. If you try to damage them when they have their shield, it will at best only stun them. This is why your flashlight is probably your most useful tool and is your primary means to burn the darkness away. Simply pointing your flashlight at an enemy will slowly reduce their shield, but you can essentially shine it brighter, while also using up your batteries quicker, and this will remove their shield much faster. This means that you need to keep an eye on your ammo as well as how many batteries you have. The act of needing to be aware of the darkness and the use of the light creates a lot of engaging situations. For one, while in combat, there is this dance where you have a set of foes moving toward you, but in order to do any damage you need to remove their shields, and in most cases you'll not be able to remove all of them at once. Thankfully you have other tools to help you out as well. For example, there will be stationary light sources, or even spotlights that can be used as turrets of sorts, to both burn the darkness away and outright kill your enemies. Flares are one of your best options for defense. You can either drop one down or light it and hold it in your hand to make it to a better position. This will push back most enemies, giving you some room to breathe and reassess how to survive. Flashbang grenades are great for groups or when you are cornered, as their blast can take out many foes at once. And lastly, and probably my favorite, is the flare gun. This essentially acts as a rocket launcher and is probably the best weapon in the entire game. Now, light and flares are not your only means for defense. You have a dedicated dodge button. If you hit it just when an enemy is about to hit you, the game will zoom in on the action and highlight the entire event in slow motion. This is both satisfying to pull off and watch. This allows the player to learn their enemies a bit more and know when the best time to dodge is. Along with this, it presents that Remedy style we love them for. The same can be said for much of the combat, as flare guns and taking out the final enemy, and even using a flare when surrounded, are all highlighted with the use of slow motion and cinematic camera changes. Now that pretty much is the gist of the combat, so how is the story? The story, storytelling, and characters are very, very good, and is easily one of the reasons I love this game so much. Alan Wake is set up like a TV show, with each level being an episode. They all close with a licensed song and open with a fun recap of the adventure so far, and this is definitely a story you're going to want to binge. Alan Wake's narrative is the definition of a page-turner. It starts, hooks the player right away, and does not stop until the very end. The story revolves around a writer who is taking a vacation with his wife to a remote area. He currently is having writer's block. When Alan arrives, he ends up waking up with time missing along with his wife, and without giving too much away, he begins to realize that a horror novel that he doesn't remember writing is coming alive before his eyes. Alan Wake as a character is one of the strongest protagonists that Remedy has ever done. He starts off very unlikable, and in many cases does not treat his wife as good as he should. He is currently a mess and very much fits the role of a reluctant hero, but once his wife goes missing, you start to see how he changes for the better in search for her. You start to see how he takes responsibility for things, tries to help others, and works to undo all of this. Remedy was smart with their execution with all of this, because at the start, Alan is not a person we really like, but his wife Alice is. She only has a handful of scenes with Alan before she goes missing, so each one of those needs to count to really have the player invested in the search. And as a result, and how well done it is, we care about Alice, and we want to save her. Now, as I mentioned, the storytelling here is really well done, so it has those TV show elements and structure, but there are also other small additions that work to fully flesh out this world. Many of the collectibles are things that enhances the story. For example, there are TVs that you will find that play these shorts that are essentially Alan Wake's version of the Twilight Zone. The radios are some of my favorites in this game as well. The host is a character named Pat Maine, and the writing and casting for this guy is perfect. Pat fits the role of an old radio host, providing a show to a small town. I could honestly listen to this guy narrate any book, or even my life. His conversations give insight into the town and the people around you. So you might be in a different area, but he will talk about the upcoming events, or other stuff going on. It makes the world feel more lived in, and it would be a crime for me to not mention any of the other enjoyable side characters. Barry is one of my favorites, and is Alan's best friend. He provides a bunch of the comic relief, and you love it when he is there. He is loyal and continually funny. Now, I could go on and on about how much I love this game. The combat is engaging and honestly addicting. The blend of third-person shooting, the light mechanics, and Remedy's visual flair for action means each combat situation feels unique, and is part of the reason why I've replayed this game so many times. The other part that makes this game so special is its story, world, and characters. I was over the moon when the remaster was announced, because now it wasn't a matter of if we were getting a sequel, it was only a matter of when. As a remaster, it's a quality game, and for better or for worse, it very much sticks to how the original was done, with some changes and additions. There are QR codes to scan, and these link to videos that relate to Alan Wake 2. Probably the biggest difference is Alan Wake's face change. I personally prefer the face from the original game over the remaster. The remaster's face can look like it's struggling sometimes to properly emote, but outside of this, it's fine, and the remaster is a great way to play the game. So if you own a PlayStation and have PS Plus, then give this a download and try it out. If you don't, I would highly recommend buying it on your preferred console, and enjoy this overlooked gem. Have you played Alan Wake? If you have, let me know your thoughts on them down below. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you would like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All of the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.